Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you today with an article that's very close to one I did a couple of days ago from the time you're listening to this, from Newsbusters that went over the kind of top 10 list of the most egregious fact checks is what it was. But from the federal list dated December 30th, we have the top 10 hoaxes the propaganda press peddled in 2024. So we'll see if there's some crossover there. But again, I've said a million times, whenever I get to clown on the media, I'm going to go ahead and do it. So we're going to do another top 10 list, just a couple of days from the last one. So it is, let's see here, top 10 hoaxes with the propaganda press peddled in 2024. I might have said that already, had a brain fart, and off we go. So it says, in no particular order, here are the biggest hoaxes and misinformation campaigns run by corporate media hacktivists this year. As Americans who have lived through Donald Trump's political career are no strangers to legacy media disinformation. From the Russia collusion hoax to the very fine people Charlottesville lie, the litany of dishonest info ops from the left-wing activists masquerading as journalists is too long to count. And there's an old article from John Nolte at Breitbart that I've put on a number of other videos that just has a list of all of the hoaxes. And it was something, oh my God, how many was it the last time I checked? It was dozens. So just to let you know, like, this is a rather extensive list. So it says, and despite Americans waning trust in their ability to report news accurately and fairly, the Democrat Party yes men show no signs of stopping. No, they're not going to do it. They're going to just make it, they're just going to get worse. It says, like years before it, 2024 saw no shortage of media hijinks. Whether it was their coverage of the 2024 presidential campaign or participation in Democrats' war on the Supreme Court, America's propaganda press maintained its ethically bankrupt reputation. So, in no particular order, here are the biggest hoaxes and misinformation campaigns run by legacy media hacktivists this year. Number one is Bloodbath. Ah, yes, this one. It says, taking Trump's remarks out of context is one of legacy media's favorite pastimes, and March's Bloodbath non-controversy was no exception. It says, speaking to rally-goers in Ohio, the former and soon-to-be president warned that the U.S. automobile industry would face an economic bloodbath if Democrats won the White House in 2024. But thankfully, they did not. It says, media accolades quickly jumped on the former president's comments, which they distorted to make it appear as if Trump was threatening a literal bloodbath if he lost his re-election bid. Yeah, this was one of those ones that, like, as soon as they started saying, like, Trump was basically going to kill people, it was like, guys, we can see the tape. Like, that's literally not at all what he said. It says left-wing outlets such as NBC News, CBS News, the New York Times, and others ran headlines using this dishonest framing. Trump says country faces bloodbath if Biden wins in November. A March 16th Politico headline reads, yes, so that makes it sound like it was something a lot worse than it actually was. So, numero dos, war on SCOTUS. It says, while Democrat mouthpiece ProPublica kickstarted a media war on the Supreme Court last year with smear attacks on Justices Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito, the New York Times took its hysteria to a whole new level. In May, the outlet fabricated a controversy, not a non-controversy, but I guess it could have been, says about an upside-down American flag flown at the Virginia residence of Alito and his wife, which the outlet claimed was a symbol adopted by some Stop the Steal protesters on January 6, 2021. What happened on that day? It says Justice Alito told the paper that he had no involvement whatsoever in flying the flag, but that it was placed there by his wife to protest the neighbor's profane yard signs. Says, despite claims of ethics violations from so-called experts, I don't know how that would be, but okay. And yes, that's why experts is in bunny ear scare quotes, because apparently these experts don't know what they're talking about, as we found out a lot with a lot of things, and since Trump came down the escalator. Says the Federalist legal correspondent Margot Cleveland, who researched judicial ethics rules and a law clerk for years, noted that the Gray Lady's effort to smear Justice Alito as unethical based on the flag incident cannot withstand scrutiny, and the calls for Alito to recuse from January 6th related cases have no basis in sanity. Makes sense to me. That's good enough. It says America's newspaper of record wasn't done attempting to tarnish Alito. However, a few days later, the Times ran another hit piece, I remember that, against the justice over an appeal to heaven flag flown at one of his homes. While well-known and originating from the Revolutionary War, the Times attempted to gin up controversy over the flag by claiming it represents a push to remake American government in Christian terms. And as a non-Christian myself, like, what's so bad about that? Like, we kind of need that to come back, and I've said that before, so that's not a bad thing, guys. It says, number 3, hiding Biden's cognitive decline. And this should be, like, the biggest media scandal ever. Not, like, just for now, but, like, ever. They all just hit it. They knew something was wrong, and now they're all trying to be like, well, we kind of thought. No, you guys are full of shit. So it says, if you're looking for an example of how the media interfere in our elections, look no further than their concentrated effort to hide Joe Biden's cognitive decline. When videos showcasing Biden's senility went viral on social media over the summer, media activists adopted the White House's baseless claim that clips were cheap fakes, which wasn't even like a term until Karine Jean-Pierre started saying it at the podium. It says, only after the president's disastrous, lie-filled debate performance against Trump did the media realize they could no longer hide his massive scandal from the public. And it's like, how did the people who didn't know about this, like, honestly be like, when they saw the debate go, I had no idea. It's like, do you watch any news anywhere? Like, even stuff like on left-wing networks like CNN, MSNBC, they're still playing Biden quotes, and he doesn't seem particularly good in them. So it's like, you just saw what you wanted to see. Of course, as their subsequent acknowledgement of Biden's faltering health clearly had nothing to do with the Republic's well-being and everything to do with their concerns, it could harm Democrats' prospects of holding the White House in November. Number 4, Project 2025, the thing that Trump has said from the beginning that he has nothing to do with at all. So it says, it didn't take long for the media to make the Heritage Foundation's Project 2025 their go-to boogeyman during the 2024 campaign. It was developed to provide a conservative roadmap for the incoming Trump administration. The plan became the subject of hyperbolic articles and Democrat speeches designed to brainwash voters into believing that it would destroy the country as we know it if Trump were to get elected. And I read a bunch of it, and it would do no such thing at all. It says, in actuality, Trump has... ads changing here. Threw me off there. It says, in actuality, Trump had repeatedly said he was not affiliated with Project 2025, and the proposal recommends policies conservatives have supported for decades. Yeah. And they're still using it today as like, oh my God, Project 2025. And it's like, NPC is like, you got the download wrong. Like, you were lied to. Okay. Number 5, what's a border czar? It says, after Democrat oligarchs orchestrated a silent coup to replace Biden with Kamala Harris on the 2024 ticket, the media jumped into action to cover up the vice president's myriad failures, including her role as border czar. To hide Harris's incompetence from voters, left-wing journalists pretended Biden had never tapped her to oversee the invasion at the U.S.-Mexico border. So as left-wing rags like Axios went as far as to claim Harris never actually had the border czar moniker, despite the outlet repeatedly referring to her as such in previous articles. Yeah, I remember after that happened that there were people going back to Axios and saying, like, hey guys, do you read you? Like, does Axios read Axios? And then there's like this whole montage that somebody has on Twitter that you can go look up where it's all the legacy media people calling her the border czar. And then after, she was called out as this, they're like, no, we never said that. So it was a whole bunch of people going back to all these organizations saying, like, do you guys watch yourselves? Do you guys read yourselves? Like, yeah, you did all this and we can see it. Again, they want you to just not believe your own eyes. Or ears, for that matter. So, number 6, Trump's Arlington Cemetery visit. Obviously seeking to tarnish Trump ahead of the November election, anti-truth NPR, which should be defunded, ran an anonymously sourced hit piece attacking the former president for, wait for it, visiting Arlington National Cemetery at the request of Gold Star families. Yes, how dare he? The smear campaign was aimed at fomenting a controversy about Trump's team taking photos and videos of the former president's visit alongside the loved ones of those killed during Biden's disastrous 2021 Afghanistan withdrawal. The media hoax didn't sit well with the Gold Star families, who blasted Kamala Harris, Democrats, and, by extension, their corporate press allies for attempting to politicize the event. Yeah, they invited him there. Trump went there to pay his respects, and and the news media just had a shit fit about it. So number 7, show me the garbage. It says legacy media propagandists had their hands full in the closing days of the 2024 election after Biden referred to the tens of millions of Americans who support Trump as garbage. I remember that. I'm garbage. Yay. Amid fears that the president's remarks could hurt Harris's electoral prospects, the Democracy Dies in Darkness crowd rushed to cover up the scandal. While Politico's Jonathan Lemire employed the media's classic Republicans pounce framing, which is what you always see after something like this, NPR's David Folkenflik decided to play doctor and mind reader for a day, telling his ex-followers he listened to Biden's comments several times and came away with the conclusion that the president's supposed stutter problem is to blame. The stutter that he didn't actually have until, people on the right started noticing that he wasn't well before he even, became president in 2020. And then suddenly he had a stutter, again, that he never seemed to have before, but okay. Number 8, Trump's Liz Cheney comments. Says one of the biggest media-driven hoaxes concocted this year was the manipulation of Trump's remarks about Liz Cheney. While speaking at an event Before the November 5th election, Trump critiqued Cheney's obsession with overseas military adventurism. The former president referred to Cheney as a radical war hawk, see her father, for instance, and defended the troops forced to fight in the never-ending conflicts neocons like Cheney would never personally partake in. He said, let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it when the guns are trained on her face. They're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, gee, let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy, Trump said. In the wake of Biden's garbage smear, the media rushed to distort Trump's comments to make it appear as if he was calling for Cheney to be executed via firing squad. Yeah, I remember seeing that on the news, and it was like, again, guys, we know what Trump said. You're lying, and we can see that you're lying. This is why nobody believes you and why all your ratings have fallen off a cliff since the election. The disinformation operation represented a clear attempt to smear Trump ahead of the election and boost Harris's prospects. Number 9. So the penultimate number here says, what assassination attempts? It says, if you watched and read nothing but legacy media, there's a good chance you'd know little to nothing about the 2 assassination attempts against Trump this year. That's pretty sad. Regardless of how you feel about whatever president, whatever side they're on, if a president is almost assassinated, you'd think a news organization would report on it, but I would be surprised if there's people out there that have no idea this even happened. So it says, after a longtime Democrat donor allegedly tried to kill the incoming president on his Palm Beach golf course in September, left-wing propagandists at NBC News and the Washington Post downplayed the attempted murder as nothing more than an incident. Outlets like Time magazine whitewashed the suspect's history of donating to Democrats, characterizing him in a tweet as a 58-year-old with an unclear political ideology. I like how that happens. Then people, regular folks on the internet, right away were just like, yeah, he's a Democrat, and here's all the proof. So again, regular folks out there, like people on X, are doing more journalism than the actual journalists. So such dishonest propaganda isn't surprising, however. It's the same playbook these media hacks, who spent years leading an assassination prep campaign with horrific smears and lies directed at Trump, deployed when initially covering the first assassination attempt against Trump in July. And we're down to the final thing here. Number 10, The Atlantic's funny mustache German guy hysteria, because they can't ever refer to Trump as something else, even though he has literally nothing in common with that man. As an last-ditch attempt to salvage Kamala Harris's flailing presidential bid, The Atlantic's Jeffrey Goldberg, who should never be trusted with any sort of journalism, you see his name and run the other way, says, who ran the debunked 2020 suckers and losers smear, there's a reason why, says, published an anonymously sourced October hit piece with claims that Trump said he wanted the kind of generals that Hitler had, and also contained accusations that Trump expressed anger about paying for the funeral services of a murdered army soldier. Yeah, and it's anonymously sourced these days basically means no, you just made it up. Says, to the media, it didn't matter that the soldier's sister blasted Goldberg for his anti-Trump fabrications, or that numerous former Trump administration officials debunked the bogus claims. What mattered was regurgitating the Atlantic slanderous hit job, which they did, with no questions asked, and that is the end. So, do you have anything else you want to add to the top 10 hoaxes the propaganda press peddled in 2024? And we'll leave it with a screen print of Aaron Burnett said, the last thing that we had, or Trump said any of the kind of generals Hitler had, which, again, this is how the media ecosystem works, is the Atlantic makes something up, and then the other places, like New York Times, CNN, MSNBC, all these places just go, they said it, so it must be true, and then they start passing it around to each other, and it's just an echo chamber. And then they report it as an actual thing, when in fact, it wasn't at all. So, there you go. Do you have anything else to add to this? Please let me know in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon.